The story opens in Sicily, where Lorenzo, a powerful drug lord, arrives at his secluded winery with his young grandson. One of his men waits outside and warns him that an unknown man is already inside. Lorenzo enters the building and is met with a horrifying sight as the bodies of his henchmen lie scattered across the floor, brutally murdered. Inside the winery, McCall sits calmly, drinking, while Lorenzo's men hold him at gunpoint. Lorenzo confronts him, and McCall makes it clear that he is there for what was taken from him. McCall measures out a short window of time and then moves with ruthless precision, killing Lorenzo's men and leaving Lorenzo helpless. He takes the key to the winery's vault and retrieves money that had been stolen during a cyber heist. As McCall exits the winery, he encounters Lorenzo's grandson outside. Moments later, the boy shoots McCall in the back and flees. Badly wounded and shaken, McCall collapses and briefly contemplates ending his life, but he ultimately chooses to survive and boards a ferry back to the mainland. While driving along the Amalfi coast, McCall pulls over and loses consciousness from shock. He is discovered by Gio, a local carabinieri officer, who rescues him and brings him to the quiet coastal town of Altamonte. There, Dr. Enzo treats McCall's injuries and stabilizes him. When McCall regains consciousness, Enzo questions the kind of man he is and whether danger will follow him to the town. McCall insists no one will come looking for him. Though McCall wants to leave immediately, Enzo stops him, explaining that his wounds need time to heal. As McCall recovers, Enzo introduces him to Altamonte and shows him around the town, assuring him that he will be back on his feet within a few days. While walking through the streets, McCall notices a hidden surveillance camera and instinctively withdraws, retreating into a diner for tea. There, he encounters Gio again, along with Gio's daughter Gabby. Gio speaks highly of Enzo and mentions that McCall's car has been safely parked at the police station, untouched. After they leave, Gabby returns briefly to give McCall a small gift, a simple gesture that deeply moves him. McCall later contacts CIA officer Collins, anonymously tipping her off about the winery's involvement in an international drug operation. As his body heals, McCall grows closer to the people of Altamonte and begins to feel a sense of belonging in the peaceful village. One day, McCall passes Angelo's fish shop and overhears Marco, a local enforcer, demanding protection money. Angelo pleads for more time, explaining that he needs the money to repair his broken freezer, but Marco responds with violence. As Marco and his men leave on their motorcycles, they notice McCall watching silently from nearby. Marco later meets with his brother Vincent, a higher-ranking figure in the local criminal organization. Vincent is pressuring Lucia and her husband to sign over ownership of their apartment building, but they refuse, insisting the matter be settled in court. Vincent orders his men to force the residents out. Shortly afterward, Marco and Vincent discuss keeping the extortion quiet, but Vincent makes an example of defiance by having Lucia's father publicly killed, spreading fear throughout the community. That evening, McCall and Enzo share a meal together. When Enzo mentions going to the market the next day, McCall offers to go in his place. The following day, McCall visits Angelo's shop to buy fish for Enzo and encounters Amina, who is also shopping. She compliments McCall's hat before leaving. Angelo refuses to take McCall's money, insisting he can pay another time, a small act of kindness that further deepens McCall's connection to the town and its people. Meanwhile, CIA operatives led by Collins investigate the Sicilian winery. Inside a hidden storeroom, they uncover massive stacks of cash along with large quantities of phenethylene tablets, confirming McCall's suspicions about the operation. Collins explains to her colleague Frank that the drug is being smuggled from Syria, repackaged, and distributed to the mainland. When Frank questions how such a network went unnoticed, Collins reveals that the discovery was made possible by an anonymous tip. Back in Altamonte, Vincent exits the church and meets Marco outside. Marco questions whether God will listen to Vincent, but Vincent dismisses the thought and orders Marco to increase pressure on the townspeople. He reveals his plan to seize the town and redevelop it into a hotel and casino. At the same time, McCall prepares to leave town. As he walks away, he notices people running toward a disturbance. He follows and sees Angelo's fish shop engulfed in flames, set ablaze by unknown attackers. The neighbors try to calm Angelo as he watches his livelihood burn to the ground. McCall spots Marco and his men standing nearby, observing the destruction from a distance. Later, McCall joins the villagers in helping Angelo salvage what little remains from the wreckage. Gio reviews security footage of the fire and contacts the Italian Central Police to request a formal investigation. The following day, McCall sits at the diner and orders tea. Amina notices his careful habit of placing a handkerchief beneath the cup and asks about it. He explains that he prefers things orderly. Amina sits beside him and asks about his favorite food, and he mentions spaghetti. She smiles and tells him she will show him what real food in Altamonte tastes like. She invites him to walk with her through the market, reminding him to wear his hat, and the two stroll together through the town. The next day at the diner, McCall again orders tea. Unbeknownst to him, Collins quietly photographs him from nearby. McCall notices and calmly invites her to take a clearer picture face to face. Collins approaches and questions him about his presence in Sicily and what he was doing at the winery. McCall claims he was simply passing through and says he is retired, refusing to disclose his former profession. Collins suggests bringing him in for questioning, but McCall points out that she lacks the jurisdiction to do so unless she intends to operate outside official channels. When Collins asks how he obtained the agency's contact information, he tells her it came from a black book. She presses further, asking how he recognized her, and confronts him with the discovery of multiple bodies at the vineyard, implying his involvement. McCall deflects the accusation, insisting he has nothing to hide. McCall then calmly explains how she found him, describing her ferry crossing, the terminal security cameras, and how she rewound footage from weeks earlier to trace a license plate and track his location through GPS data. The accuracy of his account leaves Collins stunned, and she leaves without another word. Meanwhile, Gio went to pick up his daughter from school when he received a threatening phone call. Alarmed, he rushed to Marta to ask for Gabby, only to be told that a policeman had come to collect her. Gio ran home in panic and discovered his wife and Gabby being held hostage by Marco and his men. Gio was struck to the ground as Marco viciously beat him for interfering with their operations. The group revealed they had been warned by an informant within the police. Viking dragged Gabby forward while Marco pressed a gun to her head, threatening Gio before the men finally left. Later, Gio emerged from Enzo's office, badly injured and wrapped in bandages. McCall noticed his condition and questioned Enzo about what had happened. Enzo explained that the attackers were members of the Camorra, led by Vincent and Marco, a mafia so deeply rooted that no one could truly stop them. The following day, Colin met with McCall and asked if he had any additional tips. He said he did not. She questioned why he had tipped her off about the Sicily operation, prompting McCall to challenge her perspective, asking why smugglers would move drugs through one of the most secure ports in the entire region. Colin admitted she would investigate further and promised to return with answers. That evening, Gio and his family were having dinner when Marco and his men stormed into the diner to intimidate them. Marco demanded that Gio arrange a boat using his contacts in Somalia to help expand the criminal operation. During the confrontation, Marco noticed McCall watching him. He approached and questioned McCall about meddling in matters that did not concern him. McCall replied calmly that he was trying not to get involved, but Marco was making it difficult. McCall warned Marco to relocate his operation and leave the townspeople alone, explaining that he had grown fond of the town. Marco mocked him in response. When Marco gestured threateningly, McCall reacted instantly, slamming him against the wall and crushing his finger, forcing him to scream in pain. McCall ordered Marco to command his men to leave, which Marco did. Before releasing him, McCall instructed Marco to place his gun on the table, then allowed him to walk away. Outside, Marco regrouped with his men and ordered one of them to prepare the van. He informed Viking that McCall needed to be killed. Suddenly, a van sped toward them. Viking yanked Marco out of the way just in time as the vehicle crashed into the wall, killing 2 of Marco's men. McCall emerged and confronted Viking, killing him on the spot. Marco attacked McCall with a penknife, but McCall swiftly broke his hand and stabbed him multiple times, killing him before calmly walking away. The next morning, police arrived at the scene and discovered large quantities of drugs inside the wrecked van. Colin was jolted awake by a call from Frank, urging her to turn on the television. The news reported what authorities believed to be a terrorist explosion. Frank ordered her to return immediately, but Colin revealed she was already in Naples. She again raised the question of why drugs were being smuggled through the most secure port in the region. Frank had no answer, and Colin decided to remain in Naples to dig deeper. Colin met with the Naples police chief and requested his assistance in interrogating several suspects. After reviewing the files, the chief selected one man, stating that the others could not be questioned. The suspect attempted to negotiate, but Colin firmly shut him down, making it clear that Americans did not negotiate with criminals. His information ultimately led them to the locations of several Camorra hideouts. Later, the police chief met with Vincent, who was furious over Marco's death. The chief warned him that Colin was investigating the explosion and the drug operation, and that she was sharp enough to soon uncover the truth that the blast was not caused by terrorists, but by the Camorra itself. Vincent assured the chief that he would handle Colin personally and instructed him to continue covering up the organization's activities. The police chief confronted Vincent, condemning him for selling drugs he had purchased from rival criminals and flooding his own people with poison that was killing them. Vincent coldly dismissed the accusation, insisting that if he had not bought and sold the drugs, someone else would have done it anyway. Enraged, the chief called Vincent a barbarian and turned to leave. Vincent's men seized him and dragged him back. Vincent slammed the chief's hand onto the table, took a knife from one of his men, and brutally severed the hand. He then ordered the wounded chief to uncover who was responsible for Marco's death. Soon after, Colin received word of the police chief's critical condition and headed toward the hospital. On her way, she received a call from McCall, who warned her that the recent attacks were not the work of terrorists but the Camorra. The call delayed her momentarily. Suddenly, a massive explosion tore through the area, killing most of her team. Colin survived by sheer luck, along with a few others, though she was badly injured. The wounded were rushed to the hospital, including her. Vincent returned to Altamonte and gathered the townspeople, threatening to kill Gio unless Marco's killer was revealed. To instill fear, Vincent shot Gio through the ear, sending panic through the crowd. Unable to stand by any longer, McCall stepped forward and declared himself responsible for Marco's death. Vincent prepared to execute him, but Enzo fired his gun into the air. The townspeople began recording Vincent and his men as they moved to kill McCall, forcing Vincent to retreat. He and his men regrouped at his mansion, planning revenge the next day. That night, McCall infiltrated Vincent's mansion. One by one, he eliminated Vincent's bodyguards with ruthless precision. Vincent, asleep in his bedroom, felt drops of liquid fall onto his face. Awakening in confusion, he discovered the substance was blood. Looking up, he noticed a cracked glass surface above him and rolled off the bed just as it shattered, revealing the lifeless body of one of his guards. Vincent grabbed his gun and rushed out, calling for his men, but no one answered. As he stumbled upon their bodies, he fired wildly in panic before being struck on the head and losing consciousness. McCall injected Vincent with a lethal dose of the very drug Vincent had been distributing across Europe. He informed him that death would come within minutes. McCall released Vincent, allowing him to flee the mansion while quietly following. Vincent staggered into the road and was struck by a passing car. Despite the impact and the drug coursing through his body, Vincent struggled onward, driven by desperation. McCall continued to shadow him until Vincent finally collapsed and died in a hallway. Later, McCall visited Colin at the hospital, carrying a bag containing $366,400 taken from the winery. He instructed Colin to deliver the money to Gray Dyer, a 46-year-old retired bricklayer whose pension had been frozen for 9 months after being hacked and stolen. When Colin asked if Gray was his friend, McCall replied that he was not, explaining only that he had once given him a ride. McCall then quietly left. Colin delivered the money to Mr. and Mrs. Dyer as they were preparing to leave their home. Overwhelmed with emotion, the couple asked who had sent the money, but Colin told them the identity could not be revealed. They broke down in tears of relief and gratitude. Back at CIA headquarters, Colin received a promotion for her role in dismantling the Altamonte drug operation. She was also given a package containing a book of contacts and a note from McCall. In the note, he congratulated her and said her mother would be proud. The message revealed that Colin was the daughter of Susan Plummer, McCall's late friend and colleague. With the threat of the Quaranta brothers finally eliminated, peace returned to Altamonte. McCall joined the townspeople in celebration as the local football team secured a victory, blending into the crowd as the town reclaimed its sense of freedom. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.